As you cross this glare, without blinding yourself, finding a focus that illuminates without hurting. In 60 seconds, 3 signs reveal when turning on the light has become a curse and how to transform the curse into a portal. When the light of truth enters infiltered, the first cost is invisible. The unconscious anima projects desires and fears onto the face of the one you love, and every gesture becomes evidence for or against you. The once lively conversation becomes an elegant interrogation. She falls silent to avoid setting the room ablaze. You speak louder to try to salvage what has already been lost in the subtext. The body responds before the mind, with stiff shoulders, clenched jaw, and broken sleep, and the dawn stretches on the lit screen that fabricates comparisons and suspicions. The truth, without tenderness, cuts like a stage spotlight. The truth, hidden, slowly sours. The second cost is arithmetic. Small omissions accumulate interest until the bill arrives in the form of a withdrawal that seems like indifference, but is actually self-preservation. Admiration becomes an audit, affection becomes a checklist, and the encounter becomes a performance that drains both of your energy. You get arguments right and people wrong. You win disputes and lose presence. And the relationship becomes life-sustaining, fueled by peaks of drama and pauses of silence. The greatest price, however, is internal. You stop trusting your own perception, doubt your feelings, and outsource your guidance to other people's algorithms, advice, and scripts. Before moving on, a simple rule: every gift is an opening, and every opening requires management. When you throw open the truth, it becomes a spotlight that bursts the relationship's retina. When you shut it, the room darkens, and both stumble over the same old furniture. The craft lies in the living environment, where presence regulates the passage of light like an iris, more when there's shadow, less when there's excess, always in the service of seeing better, not shining brighter. As you feel the grief, the tenderness, and healing, keep this image of the iris, because we'll return to it to pay off the metaphor at the end. When the right decision allows the light to enter softly and love to breathe again, the conflict begins within, where a simple flash of light becomes a storm. Your cell phone vibrates, the memory of an old wound ignites, your body tenses, your attention narrows, and your mind invents a compelling plot. The anima, the unconscious feminine within, pushes you to demand from the other person reparation for what you haven't understood. In that brief moment, the truth ceases to be light and becomes a scorching spotlight. You don't realize you're trying to secure love with control. The mechanism is linear: stimulus, emotion, narrow focus, defensive narrative, hasty decision. In the second move, physiology takes over and calls it reason. You try to explain to calm down, but your voice rises halfway, your chest doesn't release, and your rush to conclude betrays a rush to flee. Presence here isn't an idea, it's contact with the reality of the moment, the other person's body, their breath, their expression. Without this, any argument is a blunt knife, cutting both the recipient and the inflictor. When the inner iris is too open, the light blinds. When it closes too much, jealousy grows in the darkness. The social layer appears at the dinner table, where she describes a difficult day, and you respond with solutions no one asked for. She remains silent to maintain the atmosphere. You read it as disinterest and double down on your responses. The mechanism is classic: offering control, the other person withdrawing, reading rejection, more control. Soft power requires presence to flourish. Performance gives back the stage and loses the encounter. With each turn of this loop, admiration becomes an audit, and affection becomes a checklist. Then, micro-agreements are established that appear to be maturity, but are actually polite fear. You negotiate to avoid certain topics, schedule appointments that never arrive, exchange accurate compliments that don't resonate. Language becomes hygienic, yet bloodless, and desire learns to tiptoe. The mechanism changes destiny. Protecting the relationship becomes protecting the relationship's image. The bond grows while affection dwindles. Accumulated truths left unmanaged corrode the curiosity that sustained the we. The systemic layer magnifies the drama like an infinite mirror. The algorithm measures your importance by noise. The more you react, the more it offers triggers that confirm your worst-case scenario. Notifications interrupt the conversation. Open windows unleash comparisons. And attention, the currency of love, is spent on the wrong market. The mechanism is impersonal. Continuous stimulation, fragmented attention, polarized narrative, binary decision-making. At the end of the day, you didn't fight with your loved one. You fought with a feed. If there's a pattern, it's the escalation of tension when light isn't controlled. The good news is that patterns provide a map, and a map provides choice. It's possible to break out of autopilot without amputating the truth. From here, we'll condense this maze into a simple drawing to help you find your way around in a minute and adjust your iris judiciously. In a minute, the simple map will help you find your way around. The most seductive myth says that clarity is enough, that understanding oneself and the other is enough for love to flow seamlessly. In practice, very lucid people also get lost because they mistake clarity for a license to invade or silence for a lie. Clarity without management becomes a spotlight pointed at someone else's face, exacting interest in the form of defensiveness and turning questions into interrogations. The error lies not in seeing, but in how, when, and for what purpose one reveals what one has seen. Truth requires format, time, and dosage, like medicine that heals in moderation and intoxicates in excess. If you believe that, now that I understand, everything is easy, you disarm the antenna that guard the quality of the encounter. Clarity that ignores the other person's body is just vanity dressed as virtue, and clarity that ignores your own body is an escape disguised as courage. Management is the art of honoring what has been perceived without sacrificing anyone's dignity. When clarity learns to wait for the right moment and choose the right language, it stops competing with love and begins to serve it. Think of handling truth as a simple triangle that fits in the palm of your hand. At one end is too open. You spill everything on impulse, aiming for relief and delivering an invasion. Clear signs appear in the body, like a tight chest and accelerated speech, and in the environment, like long, untimely messages. At the other end is too closed. You hold back what matters, aiming for peace and delivering a cold shoulder. The signs are a shifting gaze, formal responses, and increased distractions to avoid feeling. The useful center is fine-tuning, saying the essential at the recipient's pace, with curiosity before concluding, making the truth an invitation, not a verdict. To find your bearings in a minute, use two observable, non-abstract criteria. First, the body. If tension rises, shoulders, jaw, shallow breathing, you're probably at the pole of excess. If vitality fades, long sigh, dull gaze, you've reached the brink of omission. Second, screen time. Notifications and comparisons often signal escape. Present focus, hands away from the device, and comfortable silence indicate fertile ground. Using these markers, adjust the iris 1 degree at a time. Reduce speed and volume when it's too hot. Increase sharpness and contact when it's too cold. Always with the guiding question, what serves the encounter here? Here, I choose a path and invite you to choose with me. From now on, I modulate. I neither anesthetize nor overflow. Recognizing one's own ignorance, as Socrates reminded us, is not shrinking. It is opening space to learn the rhythm of encounter without hurting those we love. I return to the image of the iris and turn one tooth at a time, letting in the light that allows us to see and taking away the shine I only wanted to overcome. Presence replaces performance, curiosity precedes conclusion, and truth, once again, fits into the simple gesture of breathing, naming, and asking. This is the turning point, using the gift of seeing as care, not as proof. If this decision touches you, leave a trail so I know we're together in this practice. Write in the comments, presence greater performance. I modulate the light. Or, if you prefer, I see now. I'll never let this happen again. I modulate the gift, so your word becomes a commitment. If this content resonates with you, subscribe now and turn on notifications. That way, you'll receive the next steps in this journey of fine-tuning the truth. Sharing it with someone who needs less spotlight and more focus also helps spread this change in attitude. We continue one adjustment at a time until we fulfill the metaphor and feel love breathe with gentle clarity. Now that the decision has been made, the protocol is simple and measurable so that the truth illuminates without hurting. The image of the iris continues to guide the gesture, open when the bond cools, close when the heat rises, always one tooth at a time. Each step has a verb, time, and observable criteria, because only what is measured can be adjusted at the next encounter. In the end, you will have 3 keys that fit in your pocket and restore presence when the impulse demands a stage. The goal is not to win conversations, but to keep the fabric of love intact while the light shines through. Slow down, 60s. 4, 4, 6 breathing. Criterion, shoulders drop and jaw releases. Inhale for a count of 4, hold for 4, release for 6, repeating until you feel the weight in your chest subside and your voice regains its body. If your mind races, return to the sensation of air brushing your nostrils and gravity on the soles of your feet, like anchoring a boat before the tide turns. In a hallway argument, this minute prevents the word from becoming a blade, and in a message typed in the early hours of the morning, he exchanges urgency for caution. When the muscles give way, the truth changes tone, and the other person re-exists beyond your plot. Cut input for 10 minutes, 1 window, 1 person. Criteria, 0 notifications for the agreed period. Close tabs, mute groups, and choose only 1 contact window to honor the person in front of you, even if it's yourself. This short pause in stimuli restores focus, and focus is the currency with which affection is paid. There's no presence when your wallet rattles every 30 seconds. I can hear you better after 6 p.m. Or I speak better without notifications. I'll call you at 8 a.m. and keep your promise like holding a vase with both hands. A boundary spoken tenderly isn't a wall, it's a rail. It protects the encounter from excess and provides a contour so the truth fits. When the other person accepts the adjustment, thank them and acknowledge their effort, because respect is also learned through positive reinforcement. If there's resistance, repeat the phrase in the same calm tone and offer the first step. I'll adjust mine too. These 3 steps work symphonically, not in a rigid sequence, and the test of effectiveness lies in the body and the calendar. If, after slowing down, you still argue with the same intensity, repeat 2 more rounds and only then propose the boundary. If, after the initial cutoff, the conversation remains frayed, it's a sign that the anchor of the first step was missing. The important thing is to keep the apex of curiosity pointed at what serves the encounter, not to prove a point. With repetition, the reflex to open less or close less becomes habit, and habit becomes character when it matters most. Truth, modulated in this way, loses its spotlight flavor and gains the glow of a lamp that guides without blinding. We've reached the point where the iris metaphor fulfills its promise. The light ceases to be a spotlight proving something and becomes a gentle clarity that allows us to see. When you adjust the bean, details that previously disappeared beneath the glare reappear. A look that demands pause, a smile that accepts waiting, a tension that demands a step away. It is in this focus that truth exchanges its tone of accusation for one of care, and the encounter is reorganized around what is alive now, not what the mind assumed. The shared space gains depth because presence, not performance, delimits the contours of what can be said without causing harm. The signs that it worked appear first in the body and then on the calendar. Sleep returns complete, conversations end without emotional hangover, and desire loses its fear of existing outside the script. Small rituals of attention create a climate of trust where requests become possible and boundaries become rails, not walls. Love, then, doesn't need peaks to prove itself. It sustains itself in the constant relief of someone who knows how to turn the light on and off, one tooth at a time. This is what paying the metaphor is: lighting without blinding, seeing without accusing, loving without theatrics. If this video gave you a roadmap, turn insight into action right now and leave the mantra, presence, greater performance. I modulate the light in the comments to confirm your commitment to those who walk with you. Subscribe and turn on notifications for the continuation of this series, because in the next parts, I'll delve deeper into practices and micro-stories for training presence in 7 days. Share it with someone who needs less spotlight and more focus, and tag someone who's willing to try the 3 steps today. You're not alone on this path. Not anymore. Grief, tenderness, healing. You're not alone on this path. Not anymore.